Hello and welcome to The Examined Life. Here we take a look at the journey of discovery, self-awareness, and breakthrough along the 1,000 paths that lead to your personal summit. The beauty you create and cultivate, the impact of your life is what leaves the lasting impression. Today we take a look at Aikido as a martial art and a path to self-awareness. We will deconstruct the art somewhat and examine how it develops self-awareness both in and out of the dojos. Please welcome your host, Lark Tejano.
Hello and welcome to The Examined Life. Joining us today are Senseis Cris Buenaseda and Sensei Victor Ayas. Sensei Cris Buenaseda is the Chief Instructor of Aikido Philippines and the Head Instructor of the Philippine Heart Center Aikido Club. He is a 6th degree black belt with 35 years experience in the art. Sensei Victor Ayas is the Chief Instructor of the Pilipinas Aikido Propagation Association and the Head Instructor of Masukatsu Dojo. He is a 5th degree black belt with 27 years experience in Aikido. Hi guys.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lark. Our pleasure.
Now, aside from the Seagal movies, the art seems to be finding its way to mainstream of living. I've seen these things in The Walking Dead. My kids have seen Aikido in the video game Tekken. And I think we've all basically just seen Aikido in the John Wick movies, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Now, as the art gains more and more exposure, senseis, what kind of people are showing interest in Aikido?
Well, in my case, there are wide, no? I have students from a 65-year-old who's just recently who enrolled. He's a biker, actually.
Oh, biker.
I have a teacher, professional, business, so all walks of life, actually. There's the funny, would you believe, Lark, most of my students are mostly are females.
Females?
Yes.
Okay, the interest in the art is self-defense?
Yes.
Okay, females, okay.
Yeah, normally when somebody says martial arts, it denotes strength. You should be very strong. But in Aikido, this is something that everybody can do. And children, women, old people can do it. Because this is something that you can do. And unlike other martial arts, you can only do when you are young. When you're fast. But Aikido, even if you become senior citizens, 70 years old, 80 years old, still you can do, and it will do you a favor, especially on your health.
Ah, okay.
Actually, Lark, the more as you age, no, doing Aikido, the more you will see your strength.
Right.
Yes, so that's the one thing that keeps me going.
Right.
Yes.
I think you get better as you get older.
You get better, you get more, the application of the techniques, you become more sturdy.
Right.
You become more relaxed. Yeah. So it kind of puzzle you.
Yeah.
Why? But that's something I look forward to achieve.
Right. Okay. So you gain a certain sense of maturity in the art, and you gain. It probably helps your art just a little bit better.
Yes. Probably. In my experience, when I started Aikido, I was like 22, 21.
Oh, okay.
I got influenced through Seagal's movie.
Right.
So. During 90s, everyone is going for Aikido, right?
Okay.
So my experience, Lark, was this. It's so funny that during my 7 years of training, I trained the Steven Seagal way. No, yung hard training. I'm not satisfied kung wala akong injury. And I got a different experience when we were invited in Taiwan. It was their 30th anniversary in 1997, and I pair up with I thought medyo kala ko senior citizen na.
Oh, you thought he was
That
much older, right?
Yes, but it was like in the early 50s.
Oh, okay.
He's from Singapore, Hari Sensei.
Harina.
Harina
Yeah, I met
Sensei.
him already.
So I was telling myself I will be careful to this. Diba? So because of my 7 years hard training, and you know what funny is, when we were doing the technique, I could not even apply the technique to him. You know, so parang I was shocked. And then when it turns out he's doing the technique to me, inside in my head, I was sabi ko, I will not give chance to this.
Right.
You know what happened? I just fly all over. You know, and it was
right.
I got a big aha moment. So during social time, I approached him. Sensei Hari, you're from Singapore.
Right.
So I introduced, and I was asking him, how come I cannot do the technique to you?
Right.
And he just said, because you're trying to force yourself, your movement. And I was like, oh, without even understanding what it was.
Yeah.
That's where I pivoted my training.
Right.
So from that on, I look for that meaning, that the one. It's a wake up call for me.
Right.
And from that, before wala pang YouTube, you cannot get the source, diba, where you are. And it so happened that I followed the other path.
Right.
Because for me, I think, as I think also with Sensei Cris, when you join a martial art, there's a two-way. There's two paths. There's the technical path and there's the spiritual path. Okay, probably my first 7 years is all technical. Right. And then after that experience, I searched for the spiritual. When we say spiritual, it's not the the Zen type. It's
always meditation.
No. It's I started to take a look the meaning of Aikido. Right. That's the only first time after 7 years I only try to find the real meaning of Aikido.
7 years of hard training. And
before that's the only time I found out that Aikido means harmony, to make your energy in harmonize. My 7 years, my Aikido meaning was Steven Seagal. That's it. Right. So basically it's changed. So after that, it's just
it's a humbling experience.
Yes,
what you said a while ago, I also experienced that in Japan. During the 1 week seminar, IAF, and after 3 days, of course, you feel your body very, very tired already. Yeah. I said to myself, I will keep pace with my own pace. That's why I will choose old people. I saw this old man. Maybe this is soap I can. But I was totally wrong. Yeah, this is a guy, very old, but when he gives technique, wow, you can really feel it. All I can say is and then I learned my lesson. Next time I will get somebody who is a middle-aged or a young one. I never partnered with an old Aikidoka.
Okay. So it looks as if, it sounds as if, all you young guys better be careful of us old guys, because there's a certain maturity that you reach within the art.
Yes.
And you understand it better. One way or another, the lesson will come to you. And there's a development in the art that gets...
There's a stage.
Yeah.
There's a stage. I remember Minigesi Sensei from Guam.
Guam.
Saipan. When she was here, I think 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, more than. He went to Heart Center
also.
Yes,
that time. She celebrated her 64th birthday. Right? And she was telling me, suddenly she just felt powerless. I mean, physical.
Right.
And then she's just starting to feel her ki. So she said she's so excited because her Aikido is very new again.
At 64 years of age.
At 64 age, because she's no longer using physical strength.
Right.
So she's now using her ki, you know. For those who are listening, the ki is the energy, no?
Okay.
That's why it's called Aikido.
Right.
The
I'm glad
ki,
you brought that up.
energy where we project, no?
Right.
Most of the time we don't project energy.
Uh-huh.
We project muscles,
Right.
resistance.
Right.
Okay, how to eliminate that? It's through process. It's through process. So that time I still cannot understand that, but now I'm going to that age.
Yeah,
I mean,
That stage.
few more that stage,
No.
I could feel it.
Right.
I could slowly feel it because right now I'm lesser and lesser using my physical strength. So that's why it's getting more. You become more excited about your technique. Yes.
It's relearning and relearning.
Relearning and relearning as you age.
Right.
Yeah, talking about the ki, this is something that you develop. You cannot get it overnight. Yeah, that's very true. Everybody, the first years of training, it's all physical, it's all technical. Yeah. But sometimes we forget to breathe properly. And then I remember one Japanese shihan told me that, I said, I've been practicing Aikido for so many years, but what is ki? Where is the ki? Just do the proper breathing. Will I develop my ki there? Do the proper breathing. Breathe in, breathe out. Every time you do technique, breathe in, breathe out. Don't hold on your breath. That's the way to improve your ki. So how about other things? Breathe in, breathe out. That's it.
By the way, Lark, I got profound into the meaning of Aikido.
Right.
Through actually not in a dojo, not in a training place. It's through a seminar, a leadership seminar,
Right.
where one of the facilitator, a foreigner facilitator, is an Aikido practitioner. And he explained the principle behind the Aikido, the win-win concept, and like what Sensei Cris is telling, the breathing, breathe out. He's actually said, we are all
Connected.
All connected. Not connected. We are all natural Aikidoka. As
Okay.
we were born. We were relaxed.
Right.
Our breathing is natural, but it kind of tampered us through a lot of restriction as we growing up, right? The mindset that's being put, the limit. So we become very reactive, right? So practicing Aikido is actually it's like taking us back to that who we are.
The natural state.
The natural. That's why it connected me when Minigesi said that her physical strength is no
Right.
longer there.
Right.
So he's now moving on his natural. That's why she's become more strong,
Right.
becomes more relaxed.
Right.
So it started to connect. So it got me more interested about Aikido.
So if I can get this straight, for our listeners, we've got people who are interested in the art by various means, and through seeing things that they become somewhat interested. They take to the lessons, they take to the mat, and I remember seeing a bunch of children take this thing, and they're just flipping themselves all over the place, and they've got all this energy and all this. They're fearless in what they do, and I've seen a bunch of teenagers take this, and I've seen the 20-year-olds take this, and there's a mindset about how they want to be able to defend themselves, and how physically tough they are, and how they want to be able to prove themselves. And you're saying through the experience of learning the art that it matures and it evolves, and that you understand the art a little bit more, and that you're less likely to impose your will.
It's actually a generation now. People who come into the dojo, they have a good sense of what is Aikido already because of YouTube. I mean, because of social media, they can research it first.
They can many
Unlike
information. Yeah,
Unlike before, our base is just Steven Seagal, right? So right now, at least the people who come and they have at least idea already that Aikido is about blending. So it's easy to translate, because before, I remember, I still get confused when my mindset's still Steven Seagal, and when there's Japanese Shihans who come here to give a seminar, they will always say about the contradict to what we are learning, right? They will always say, no, blend, harmonize. So it kind of contradict to what I'm doing. But right now, at least because of social media, they have that already mindset that this is what I want to take.
Great. So it looks as if we've got a diverse group of people who are taking the art here. A lot of people interested in the art, a lot of different professions represented in the art, a lot of different age groups represented in the art.
Well, that's supposed to be that way. Well, my experience kasi, here, the reason people are not into martial art is because their only mindset to get into martial art is just self-defense, right? So if your whole life you don't experience anything, I mean, outside, no, yung parang na-hold up or napaaway.
Right. Nothing stressful.
You will not trigger enough to learn something, right?
Yeah.
But in Japan kasi, their mindset is different. Their mindset is going to martial art is to train the person
for that moment.
Train for discipline, for physical health, not for self-defense. I mean, Japan is one of the safest country, but look, their martial art culture is so wide. Why? Right? Because iba yung mindset. But in here, in the Philippines, ang criteria lang ng martial art is self-defense.
That's what always people think about it. When they said martial arts,
na kailangan mapaaway ka.
I have to be physically involved.
So it's a very what's the word? Parang ang babaw ng reason for me to get into martial art.
Limited view. But sometimes the question is, who are the people who can take this art, martial arts? Actually, especially Aikido, anybody can take it. Small children, women, old people, and sizes, any size actually.
So, as you mentioned before, Sensei Vic, what happens here is basically a lot of people, and I think this is anywhere, a lot of people take up the art initially so they don't get humiliated.
Yes.
So they're able to defend themselves, or sometimes they've been bullied. So they want to be able to take something to prevent that from happening again. So you get a lot of people who take up the art that way. So okay, that gets them interested. They look up what they think they might like. So now we find ourselves with people in our dojo, for whatever reason, they come to the dojo. And so what I'd like to ask is, once in the dojo, and we've already sort of mentioned around the idea, what are the students going to learn in our dojo, in the dojo that they've come to join? The Aikido aspect, what is that like in the dojo?
I'll give you an example. For my kids' class, usually parents wants to
keep Johnny from getting beaten up in school
or being bullied. And I always ask the question: are they being bullied now? No. So why are you want them to learn something na hindi pa nabubuli, right?
It's not happening yet.
Yes, right. So, said, bakit? Why? Because my martial art or Aikido, my way of teaching is different. I teach them to become more of to develop self-confidence, not to to teach them how to defend themselves, but to learn more of themselves first. Okay, once a kid develops self-confidence, I mean, he can take up that situation already. So by doing that, what does it mean? Fix your sleepers,
right?
Bow together in line, even in the form of bowing, even in the form of our sesa. There's a form. You start with form. Why? Because learning it's a discipline, right? To take up new skills. You don't just teach them new technique and then what?
It's not downloaded into the head like the Matrix.
A lot of I mean, I based on my experience when we were doing the Steven Seagal Aikido, we will just memorize techniques,
right?
Okay, and at the back of my mind, I'm creating a scene. Pag sa school kaya may ganyan, so I'll be I'll be the hero.
Yeah, scenarios.
So it's actually putting myself into a dangerous situation,
right? Because
thinking that I know something, right? So wala dun yung self-discipline ko, right? But from now on, I start teaching my student from discipline first, discipline, for them to have that patience, right?
That's the reason why every Japanese Shihan, they always insist on learning first the etiquette.
Etiquette to control, because that's where that's where will you react outside, you know? Pag meron lang nagkantyaw sa'yo,
I want to try what I've learned.
Right.
Diba? Is that it? Or you come down, have that patience, and
you learn the virtue of patience.
That's
so
why,
maraming nagugulat na parents na ganyan ba yung So I want them to learn, how to do. So
From that fear of being beaten up.
It's totally different environment. I mean, in my dojo, I created that. I think it's all Aikido community or dojo.
Right.
Because nga Aikido is a very
that's what make it different from other martial arts. This is what we want to emphasize always. That's why when they come, what do I expect to learn? What will I do? What do I need to do? And then they will ask, what will I gain? Well, the first benefit you will have is you will have a healthy body. That's the first thing you have. Physically, you will feel it. But later on, if you continue regularly, you yourself will discover how you behave outside, how you deal with your fellow man, how you react to situations.
Right. There you go.
So it's really a training ground, not to take the knife out of a stranger. It's not about that. It's a training ground to polish yourself as a person.
More of a personality training. Okay.
So
character
as a
training.
person, yes, but through techniques.
Right.
Through techniques, through dojo etiquettes. You do it every time. Well, depends on how often you come to a dojo. If it's once a year, I mean, you don't develop anything. But if you come regularly, you adopt that environment, and as you leave, you imbibe that. It becomes part of you. So we are actually following, the traditional Aikido.
Okay.
Why? Because for them not to be caught up in a situation when a Japanese Shihans come or a teacher comes,
Japanese instructor,
they don't get culture shock, so they're following, or even if they visit Japan, they know how to to
You're reading off the same page.
Yes,
at least you're
correct.
on the same
Yeah,
wavelength.
because what we're doing in Japan is we're also doing it on our own dojo.
Right.
Same
because
system.
in Japan, I think 80% or 50% of what they're doing is not technique, it's culture.
Ah,
And the 50% is just technique. So you just also have to follow that or adapt that culture.
right.
Okay. And we all know that Japanese culture is about respect. They're so
Yeah, they're always bowing. Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the mat now, we're into the mat, and it seems as if as we progress into the art, certain things we discover about ourselves, and we get into the whole dojo thing because we're looking at trying to do this, and then we find out that apparently it's not that. That if we enjoy the art and examine it for what it really is, that we can actually gain a lot more from the art. Humility, discipline, and just perseverance. And then as you go through this path, you're sort of seeing light at the end of the tunnel, and you leave just a little bit better.
it's also the environment, the training ground. It's because it's not a very competitive atmosphere.
Oh, that's important to know.
So practicing 1 hour, you just have a good feeling of sharing techniques, and after that you just feel light,
right,
so you create a good camaraderie,
right.
Beside physical health, you just
Yeah, because you don't feel intimidated while practicing.
Yes, because
you're not preparing for a tournament. You're not preparing for a fight.
Right.
you're just there to polish your technique.
Okay. That's an important distinction here. I think our listeners should understand this, that there are no tournaments.
There's no tournament.
There are no
because
tournaments.
if both of you are an Aikido ka or practice Aikido, you will just both stand there.
Just stand there waiting.
Just
waiting
wait.
because
Standing
there's
waiting.
the concept again is to
You're better off to just bow and walk away
Okay.
from each other.
yes.
See you at the seminar.
Okay. That's why I like what the founder, one of his quote is, if everyone knows Aikido, there will be
That's right.
No fighting.
That's right.
Yeah, there
no
will be
war,
yeah,
right?
No fighting.
Or no.
No need.
I mean that's too.
You find another way of resolving the
Yes.
conflict. Okay, that's important because so you're not training for prize money. You're not training for a big trophy. The battle really is within yourself, is it not? To just leave
make
a little
yourself
bit better
better.
than
Personally,
for
yeah.
that technique to become effective.
right.
Yes, and for you to understand, am I resisting? Am I using force, or am I relaxed? So just the movement just keep you minding you.
Right.
Okay, you're also asking yourself, am I benefiting my partner? Am I getting something?
Yes.
Do I
Actually,
hurt my
yeah.
partner?
Yes.
So
You know.
both of you are in advantage position.
Yes.
You gain both. You gain something. He learns something.
Yes. It has to be a win-win.
It's
Yeah,
a
It's a
win-win.
win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation, and it's a work in progress on yourself. Every technique. It may look the same technique, but if you pair up with different technique, let's say
taller
the other night you pair up with a small guy, and then on the other day you pair up with a taller guy. Even though it's the same technique, it's a different reaction.
Right.
So you work on yourself plus on the individual you pair up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing good about Aikido. There is no fixed technique that you only have to do this. You adjust your technique
Adjust.
depending on your partner.
Right.
Yeah.
Adjust.
It's going out home. You adjust to every problem.
Right.
Not all problems are the same.
Right.
Not all problems should be need a head-on collision. Not all problems should be faced. Sometimes you get away from the problem, and then the problem solves by itself.
It's like weaving your way through Manila traffic,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Right?
every day there's a traffic, but
Find another way. Yeah, go.
find another way. Or sometimes the traffic, it's easier, it's quicker now, right? So it's how you deal with
It's how you
way.
navigate your way through life.
Yes.
It has to be a win-win. And you should be learning as well as teaching. It's a give and take relationship between you and your partner.
Yes. And if you will just look, no, let's say you visit an Aikido dojo, and if you try to observe how they train, you will have a question mark, right? If you're looking for a self-defense martial art, you will have a question mark saying, is that really effective outside? You know, the movement, because when you see it from an outside perspective, it's like a dance, right?
It looks like dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody danced outside when somebody
Exactly,
won, right?
exactly.
But why?
He's just giving in. He's not
Right?
resisting.
Non-resistant
So
attacker.
that's what I get a lot of questions. It looks so fake,
Right.
right?
Scripted.
It's also my question
It's
before.
choreographed.
Yeah,
It's
it's
choreographed.
choreographed.
Right.
Okay, so I always say to my students, especially the beginners, that don't put yourself first into outside situation, because Aikido, you will learn only when you're connected with your partner. So it's different from other martial art. Other martial art, you want to finish right away.
Right.
The faster you go,
Yeah.
the easier. In Aikido, the longer you stay connected, the longer it will benefit, because you're trying to solve a technique.
I get it.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
but the problem with the beginner is how can you convince them that
Yes.
you connect with your partner? No, I
Connect?
want to beat him.
I want to beat him. That's the
I want to-
mentality. I want to
Impose justice
resist
right away.
him.
I want to be better than him.
Because you're not always going to be the strongest. You're
Correct.
not always
Yes,
going
true.
to be,
Very
this or
true.
that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think about it in terms of the energy that somebody gives you, and you're just finding a place to put it after harnessing all that intent. Instead of meeting it head on, you're just sort of moving it in a certain direction and just blending with it and connecting with all of that and just trying to put a place for it. Is that right?
Yes, and,
Yes, very true.
and
Yeah.
that's why it looked like a dance.
Uh-huh,
When you see somebody, a couple who
Right.
has that harmony
Right.
in dance, it looks so
Right. Yeah, harmonious. It looks
yes,
like a
it's
dance.
It's like, okay, again, we go out of the mat. When somebody comforted you, a high voice, very angry, will you also be angry at him, answer him the same tone, the same anger?
Right.
What will happen?
Sensei Cris, I'm glad you brought that up, because we're now going to ask you, both of you, senseis, now that we've learned this on the mat, okay, and we've learned these things on the mat in terms not just of techniques, but we've learned. What do we learn outside the mat that we can take outside into, quote, quote, the real world in our relationships with others? And you had mentioned if somebody was to raise their voice at you, and if you were to meet, your choice would be to meet this confrontation head on, or as you said, just give way and maybe see things through their perspective, yes?
Yeah, in the mat, every time you practice, we're always reminded of our proper stance, the distance we must have with our partner, the awareness around us.
Right, okay.
Now, outside, if you don't keep yourself, if you don't make yourself, your composure, you break your composure,
Right.
you break everything.
Right,
If you don't get away from arguments,
right.
trouble will come.
Good point.
If you-
That's the
yeah,
sad
yeah.
part. If you can see right now, right? Because what you learn, or what you learn inside the dojo will eventually you will do it outside, right? If a dojo teaches you to become very aggressive, tactics, how to end a fight, that will become the reaction. And sadly, because of social media again, YouTube, a lot of being hype right now is I don't want to mention any other martial art, is people like being
Right.
in terms, Sensei,
They just want to be able to end fights right
sinasabong.
away. Yeah.
No, it's
They-
like to
they-
cock
they-
fight.
They like people,
Yes,
fighting. There's a goading of, let's see who's better. Let's see who's
to
better.
determine who is the better.
And
Who's
that
the real.
becomes our environment right now. You see a lot of them in YouTube. Even a traffic confrontation, people get out, want to fight right now because that's what becoming the norms, right? So it becomes very dangerous. I mean, for me, that mentality or that situation. The beauty of Aikido is it teaches you the other side, right? To blend, to keep your composure, to be grounded. It's not about you being held up. No, it's not about that. For me, outside practice is a traffic. A traffic is a form of attack, right? So how will you defend it? Will you, curse the world, blame the government,
Shout at other drivers,
or just take it easy, be grounded. Oh, I'll just enjoy my music.
Right.
Or I'll just enjoy someone in the car. Just divert it. I mean, the traffic's there. I mean, that's how I perceive. That's how I became.
It's making do with what you have and dealing with it.
Sometimes being coward is being practical. When you're going to engage yourself, trouble will just occur.
There'll be more trouble than it's worth. And I think what we're mentioning here is just the idea that you'll see something and what happens is when people get in the situations, it's the idea of I need to be heard because I'm right and you're wrong.
Yes.
And sometimes the Aikido practitioner knows this. He's a little more he's got a little bit more wisdom because he knows that's coming at him.
That's
the
where
need to be heard.
That's where I think that's where you learn inside the dojo the awareness, right? Because in Aikido training we do a lot of throwing, so sometimes you have limited space.
That's where most accidents happen.
Yes, when you have no self-awareness. So I mean, because of that, I think even in outside, your self-awareness becomes widened. You sometimes have this feeling that this alley or this street is not kind of good. I mean, it's not about you're in a situation already. I remember I was asking one of Fujimaki Sensei, a Japanese Shihan who was here. I was asking him, what if a situation, somebody poked a knife, so what will you do? That was the time I was just starting, right? So I am looking for a technique, a solution. So he was saying
all that keenness,
Oh, he's a fourth dan that time.
So he's accomplished.
Yes. And he said, oh, knife, you just give the wallet. Right? Wasn't expecting that answer, right? From a fourth dan. And so he was trying to become philosopher, no? So you want to write that? So I throw him back another question. What if he chase you? Because he said, give the wallet and run. They say, what if he chase you? And then you run faster. What if he run faster? Okay, if he catches you, next day you go to dojo, you train more.
Oh, there you go.
So honestly, that time the answer was
you were not expecting that answer.
I felt like a fourth dan answering me like that. So
what was that, right?
I mean, through the years, it means you're not supposed to get into that situation.
Right. First, if you get into that situation,
you're already out of your awareness.
Right.
So what he's saying is, beforehand, you should have that feeling or awareness.
You already have a solution.
Right.
I also answer one time, as a beginner, I also asked my sensei about that.
It's a beginner's question, I think. It's a beginner's question.
Given. What are you going? You don't want to do any technique. Ask yourself. 500 pesos is worth your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get it again. You can earn it again.
Yeah.
Then take a chance of being stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Then pay your hospital bill, or good if it's hospital bill. What if it is a funeral bill?
So listeners, just so that you understand, I've got very experienced senseis in here, and somebody wants to take your phone, the answer is just give it. Just give it.
Apply Aikido principle. Evade.
Evade.
Get
If you
out of
can-
the situation.
Yeah, get out of
No,
the
the
situation.
best ways to become
Aware.
awareness. I mean, a lot of people right now just
Yeah.
bring out
Casually,
their
yeah.
phone.
Yeah, casually bring it
yes,
out. They're signaling that I've got a
okay.
phone and I'm not paying attention
So-
to what's around me.
A lot of people ask, even my friends, he was asking me, "You've been training
Look,
for 27
Looking
years.
for the answer
Yes.
you were asking.
Have you
Yeah, that's a very
experienced?
common question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you tried the technique? My answer it was real fight. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
experienced it,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean daily life,
Mm-hmm.
practical situation like argument.
Mm-hmm.
I always apply Aikido
Mm-hmm.
every single day.
Okay.
Every single
That's
day.
why whenever I hear my students say, "Oh, Sensei, I was able to apply the technique that you taught me." You know what I feel? I feel sad
Mhm.
because he was engaged in a situation which was very dangerous.
Mhm.
It was life or death situation.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
if he didn't survive?
What if you?
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's still the best thing is always evade, give in.
Mhm.
Don't fight
Mhm.
or don't resist.
Mm-hmm. Or just be aware of it. I know of somebody who walks around the market, and I mean, he's got to go from point A to point B, and he's carrying an awful lot of cash with him. And his attitude is, people are people know. Some people who've watched me see me coming out of my store, and they might have seen people giving me money in the store, so they know I'm walking around with a lot of money. So what I do is I don't make it easy to be a target as I get from point A to point B. And I thought that was a great example of awareness of where you are and who you are in the scope of your environment.
Yes.
And what could happen to you, and taking the necessary steps to make sure that you don't have to be in a situation where somebody's asking you for something that you may or may not want to give.
Yeah.
And I thought that maybe that was a great example of, you don't hear about that. You don't talk about these stories where, I got home and you're able to go home. The uneventful moments in your life that, believe it or not, you're applying the technique, the Aikido concept of self-awareness and mindfulness.
Yeah, talking about that, I have an experience when I was in San Francisco. I was training in Berkeley. I met a Japanese old lady. Her name is Aiko. She was like early 70s.
Right.
Early 70s, and she was really practicing, smiling, and one time she offered me to give me a ride to the train station, and I was asking her, how long have you been practicing? She just said, I'm not counting, right? I'm not counting.
Right.
Oh, so I said, do you experience any injury? No. Really? Why? I don't know. Sometimes I come here, if I park easily,
I go.
I go. But sometimes I keep circling around
Finding
for
parking.
if hard to find parking.
Right.
I'll just go home.
Right.
Maybe that's a sign for me
That's a sign.
not to train because
Right.
I might get injured. So the self-awareness, it's not just forcing some issue.
right.
It's sometimes you develop that through training, right? Because sometimes a technique, how come this technique is so hard? So you have to assess first your posture. Am I in the right posture? Am I moving the right? Rather than keep forcing in the technique.
So there's
Remember,
something.
one of the sayings of Sensei, you go with nature, and nature will protect you.
Right. Okay.
So that means we really don't have to
Going with the
insist
flow.
ourselves. Yeah.
The Stoics believe in this attitude.
Because sometimes there are situations, there are problems that really you can't do anything.
That's where we go back to the one I was telling, the baby.
Right.
Because baby is always by natural, it's flowing with nature. They're bubbly, they're fearless, just so
They roll, whatever, and then don't meet accidents. Yeah.
Yes.
Seldom.
And when I'm teaching kids class, their technique is more beautiful.
Because they are more relaxed. They're not thinking anything.
They're
less limitations.
They're
on
not
them.
thinking how to pin down a person, but they just do the technique on their movement.
Great, and it's they're not as restricted by whatever one is imposed on them. So if I'm getting this, so we've got our lessons on the mat, and these lessons actually translate to life lessons outside the mat. And it's been a great conversation here, because what I'm getting is, as we tie all of this together, it's the self-defense aspect might help you in a single stressful moment.
The self-defense, the technique-wise, will just come out when you're in that situation.
Right.
Because I remember me explaining to a beginners every situation. You do this technique, you do this technique, and then somebody. I learned that from a Japanese also. I always keep asking. He said, "Why you keep asking question for every technique, right? Because sometimes I explain this. Your height and my height same. What if in a situation it's different height, and you memorize that technique?
Right.
So don't memorize technique. You just keep doing. That's why we keep on changing partners. And then you let the situation. If there's a situation, you let it come out.
Yeah, you can easily adapt to anything, to any partner, any.
That's
any
what.
problem.
That's what the meaning of no mind.
Ah.
You're not preempting. You're not minding that I should use this. I use this. It just comes out whatever in that situation. So it gave me a better answer for a beginners right now.
Right.
So instead of explaining every details, every technique, I'm just explaining it. You just keep doing the technique.
You always say beginners, especially those who always ask.
Because they're keen.
Monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah,
Yes,
just do it.
correct.
Yeah, do it.
But again, it's a beginner's mind. I was also like that before. I mean, I think it's a process you will go through.
Right.
He will learn it by himself. Yeah, he will learn. He will realize.
And the learning never stops.
Yes,
Never stop. Never
You get
stop.
that black belt and you're relearning everything again.
Never.
Yes, that's true.
In
Why?
fact,
Somebody asked me, when are you going to stop? Then I asked him, when are you going to stop eating?
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
eating. It's like eating actually.
When are you going to stop the breathing?
Right. So it seems as if the art, other than self-defense, which is the obvious thing that people seem to think of what it is, it seems as if the art is actually the real measure of its effectiveness. Aikido's effectiveness is how it helps someone become a better person in other moments that make up their life.
It's
Yes?
really polishing a person.
Your
That's
character,
the
yeah.
character. And there's a lot of story about the founder of Aikido that he can pin down a big guy with only one finger.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's like love can move a mountain coat.
Uh-huh.
It's actually true, you know, not physically, but if you apply that principle, because I experienced a lot of that situation, and I could really pin down one person with one finger. Okay.
Which you might have had a difficult time doing when you were 27 and probably stronger. I think that's something that we should address here as well.
No, when I'm saying I pin down using my one finger, it's not really physical.
Yeah,
right?
That's
it's a
right.
situation because I'll tell you this. It's again in San Francisco. We were waiting for a bus, right? And a big stocky bomb approached us asking for money.
Right.
You know, I'm with a friend, a girl. So we were both kind of scared, right? So he was asking me for money, and I said I only have a quarter. He was asking for $1, you know. And his eyes get more.
How dare you not have $1?
Yes. What do you mean to say you don't have $1?
25 cents is all you have.
Yes. Okay, and then said, no, it's because my friend's birthday, which is really. And he said, why? It's also my birthday.
Yeah. All of a sudden, it's his birthday.
And then said, you're not afraid of me? I said, no, because you look nice when you smile. And then his face changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Me smiling? He was asking, you look right.
Yeah.
I was, and my friend said, yeah, you look nice.
Yeah, because it's your birthday.
Yeah,
right.
So happy birthday. So I connected.
Yeah.
And then when the bus came in.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, this is our bus. Is
25 cents enough?
No,
for you?
no. Take it. And then when we ride the bus, so the bus is still there. The bus door closed, but I could see him in the waiting shed. He just go back, and there's a lot of bombs there.
Okay.
And he was just
feeling better.
Look, I'm smiling. I'm smiling, shouting.
Yeah.
It looks good. And we and my friend was just staring each other. What just happened?
What did we just do?
You know? At that time, I didn't realize.
No.
When that evening, I tried to journal it, and I tried to see, hey, this is an application.
Yeah, that's the real Aikido. Yeah,
This is
that's the real
a
Aikido,
pin down
right?
of one finger.
Right.
And from that on, I every time, every situation, I tried to take note that what is this application in Aikido. So right now, every time I do, whether I'm doing that technique, I always see how can I apply it outside.
Great. Now that's the great part of
Aikido
this.
at its highest level. Yeah.
Aikido at its
So
highest
it's
level.
true.
It's beautiful.
It's true. One finger.
Right. It's just it's just a mind shift. Just
It's a mind
creating
shift.
that, and there you go. You see, what I'm getting here is that it's these moments where, these moments that don't make YouTube, these moments that don't make the news, these moments where you do your thing and you're able to get home, you're able to reflect on what you did, and you left this person feeling better, and you feel better, and it's the higher ground that I think Aikido offers a lot of people, and a chance to get to that point.
But that time I didn't know. Should I apply Aikido? It just probably comes out.
Right. On the ball.
From the environment of the dojo.
He was big. I don't know if the technique will work or not, right?
Maybe it was just not even thinking about that. Just doing whatever's coming to you naturally. And that's the great part of where the environment comes into play and the training and what have you. Okay, folks, for our listeners, this is a great way to tie this up. And for those who are listening to this, everyone gets 168 hours in a week. Perhaps a few hours invested learning this art can pay dividends for you throughout your life. There seems to be an awful lot of upside here in exchange for your time and commitment, right?
For me, it's people wants to take this martial art. First, they try to research it. If it's really for them.
Right.
if it's their aim is just to learn self-defense or for daily use.
Right.
Because the commitment of training will depend on their reasons, right? If they just want is to learn self-defense, sometimes you practice, train for like 1 to 2 years, and then you don't use it, you get tired. You say, this is because you're not. It's like it's like you want to learn to cook, but you're not even cooking at home, right? So what's the use of going to a culinary school?
Well, these are people who have a different mindset.
Yeah, I mean, there's other outlet that they can go, but if their mindset is they want to polish themselves, use this
make
as
themselves
a better
build
person,
build the character.
how he can or she can deal with the traffic or even their boss or wife or husband. It's a daily attack.
Right.
How he can solve it. I mean, it's a good way. It will be a lifelong training.
Yeah, they just said to commit themselves, invest the time. Yeah.
Pays dividends.
Yeah, that's only a
After
few
all.
hours in a week. Yeah.
Thanks again to Senseis Cris Buenaseda and Sensei Victor Ayes for sharing their time and knowledge with us today here at The Examined Life. Thank you for helping our listeners see that the art is part of 1,000 paths to their personal summit.
Thank you, Lord.
Our pleasure to have you.
I mean, thank you for giving us this, for inviting, and to let your listener to see the real meaning of Aikido.
To anyone who wants to learn and or inquire about Aikido, you may contact any of the following dojos provided in the link at the description below. If you want to hear more content from us and be updated on our next podcast, please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and on the Facebook page by clicking on the links below. Feedback is important and much appreciated. Suggest topics are welcome as well. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day ahead.